Yep.
Let's talk to. He's down there. He's amongst it. The Fitzroy Lions are playing the Geelong Cats today in the AFL Grand Final.
Yep.
It's really the VFL with those two teams, but the AFL Grand Final. 89 years ago, but an Ipswich man fled to Geelong, facing court in a Sunday school, and benefit from divine intervention. And he's going to tell us there's nobody knows stories like Harold H. Cock-a-doodle-doo.
Yep.
Let her rip, son.
Yeah, good morning, Danny. Look, I'm on assignment, Danny. You've sent me down here chasing an AFL Grand Final theme story.
Yeah.
And, of course, it's that Geelong, the Ipswich guy with the Geelong connection. You'll be amazed by this story. It's incredible, and I will go anywhere for a good story. So even to the AFL, I know you're a big AFL fan.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, go.
So anyway, look, it was back in 1929 when Alfred Victor Bates, that's Mr. Bates, he was better known as Victor.
Right.
He was living in Canning Street in North Ipswich when at the age of 21 he bought his first car. You know, he got it from John Faulkner Motor Garage Proprietor in Brisbane Street in Ipswich. And Danny, if you walk down Brisbane Street now and look up, you can still see the name Faulkner Motors on the building.
Yeah, I saw that
where Alfred Bates got his car.
I saw that last weekend. That's no lie. I was looking out.
So this is where this story really starts. And like a lot of young blokes getting their first car, it did end in disappointment. And for Victor, it was spectacularly so. That's because less than a year after Victor got his car, he was driving along Doncaster Road towards Brisbane Road when he smelt burning rubber.
Oh.
Now, the fuel pump caught fire, the lights went out, and the car ran off the road into a tree and burst into flames.
Wow.
Now, Victor escaped injury, but the car was a write-off. He still owed £90 on the car, but fortunately, it was insured for $100. So Victor got out of it okay with a bit of change.
£100.
Well, yeah, although it would have been really disappointing for the young fella losing his car in a ball of flames like that, wouldn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Now, young Victor then got married to Doris Clem, whose grandfather built the Brassel Methodist Church and was an alderman on the Walloon Shire Council.
Right.
And that's when the trouble really started for Victor, after he got married. You see, come 1936, the world was in the depths of the Great Depression.
Right.
Victor and Doris were living in Gin Street, Ipswich. He had a job at the Queenslander Woolen Manufacturing Company in North Ipswich as a card fettler, which in the textile industry, Danny, as you know, is someone who removes waste, lint and short threads, that kind of stuff, from the carding machines.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. And it's not a particularly well-paid job. And Victor was he wasn't well paid. He just actually disappeared.
Oh.
Now, police were suspicious because he was the treasurer of the social club, and they tracked him south to Victoria, and he was eventually arrested in Geelong.
Wow.
Who, of course, are the opponents of Brisbane Lions today. And I say Brisbane Lions, Derek, Brisbane. Now, he was then extradited back to Ipswich, where he was to face justice. Now, the terrible truth is that he was charged with absconding with funds belonging to the Queensland Woolen Manufacturing Company Employees Holiday Fund. In fact, yeah, he was charged with stealing the enormous amount of £605, 5 shillings, and 11 pence, which back then was enough to buy a couple of houses.
Wow.
Now, Victor faced a criminal sitting of the Circuit Court in Ipswich. The presiding judge was Mr. Justice Edward Douglas, whose father was the Queensland Premier John Douglas, after whom Port Douglas is named. And he's also the grandnephew of the Marquess of Queensberry, who, of course, is famous for the first rules of boxing. Now, the amazing part of this story is that Victor is possibly the only criminal case in the world, certainly in Queensland, ever conducted in a Sunday school. You see, Ipswich's courthouse was getting some renovations, and so the court, his case, was moved over to, of course, all places, the Congregational Sunday School in East Street. And Victor, I think he must have benefited from divine intervention, because although the jury's verdict was guilty, he was convicted of stealing a far lesser offence of just £247. And the verdict came with a recommendation to mercy. Now, Justice Douglas handed down a sentence of 2 years imprisonment, but this was modified to just a suspended sentence with good behaviour bond. And all Victor had to do was give the money back. So, Daddy, I reckon thanks to divine intervention in the Ipswich Sunday School Court, Victor never had to go to jail. and went on to have a very productive life, including in the Second World War, serving Australia very well in the Middle East, Darwin, and the Southwest Pacific. So with the old Congregational Sunday School, where the case was held, it's the heritage-listed Uniting Church Central Methodist Hall on 86 East Street. You can see it today. And Danny, my recommendation is if you ever get into trouble, then you should go to the Sunday school. It certainly worked for young Victor Bates, who was tracked down and arrested in Geelong all those years ago.
I'm a believer, buddy. I'm a believer. Now, listen, just describe where you are at the moment.
Right now, I'm just off in a laneway, having a coffee, surrounded by Brisbane Lions fans, and they're all really wanting to have a song in the background if you want to get some atmosphere happening.
Sing the national anthem of France. Go on.
Okay.
France. Now, listen, just before you go, what time's that game start? I can't find it in the paper.
How's that, Denny? It's really pumping here in the streets of Melbourne.
Now, what time's it start?
It starts at 2:30. Snoop Dogg there starts at 1:30. But just let me say, Snoop Dogg was originally called Snoop Lion. So I think that's a fact. I reckon that's a pretty good omen for the Lions today. Let's go Snoop Lion.
We're calling him Snoop Flog, and down at the NRL it's going to be Teddy Run Swim Runs.
Okay, well, you're on a good thing about Snoop Lion. That was his original name, so I think he's going back to his roots for the game today.
Is that a fact, eh?
That is.
I think Snoop Dogg sounds better.
It does slightly, but, go Lions.
Now, listen, mate, appreciate your time, even though you're down having a good time, trying to have a good time. So enjoy the game, and we'll talk to you next Saturday about this time, and we'll be proud to talk to Harold the H.